L.Q. Jones, who was one of my favorite actors. He's been in movies since the early 50s, Raoul Walsh films, and of course reached legendary heights there with Sam Peckinpah, where he often played with Strother Martin, two extraordinary people together, and almost in my mind sort of Joe Pesci in a way of a certain urban film. L.Q. Jones is like very much of the West in a way, and so to have L.Q. Jones and Bob De Niro in the same frame, I thought was pretty interesting, let alone the same scene.
I write it all down in this book. Every fucking nickel goes down right here. Receipts here.
Wow.
Receipts here, bills here. Everything's here.
Since when do you talk like that?
I'm sorry.
Katie Scorsese, Marty's mother, was a great addition to the film. And here he just had Vinnie Vella, a wonderful actor, ranting and using a lot of swear words. And Katie was naturally upset by the use of swearing. She didn't like it.
They'll be in on it together, those miserable fucks.
So he just said to her, just react to him, and you couldn't write such a thing. You couldn't dream up such a thing. It's so natural.
Take it easy.
All right.
You could get a heart attack like that.
So it was a great deal of fun to pick the moments of her despair with this guy.
I'll take the eyes out of his freaking head.
Again.
I didn't Chris, that's a freaking head.
That's enough.
I'm sorry.
Ellen Lewis has worked with Marty for many years, and he's come, I think, to trust her and also have a shorthand with her, so that she does a lot of the preliminaries. Obviously, when it comes to the big actors, he knows sort of who he wants, but when we get into the supporting roles, I think she's very valuable and very important to him. In this movie in particular, the older men were all guys from the neighborhood that Ellen found, who have since gone on to have careers as actors, but they were real. I mean, people would say, you should go see Charlie down the street, and they're wonderful faces and great voices and just great people that everybody can relate to.
Mr. Rothstein, I'm sorry, we get some complaints about the noise.
Marty really believes when he's in an environment like that you should use the real people. So Marty used real police officers.
If we just let her in the house and get a few of her things, that way she'll get out of here. So it's half her house
I'm afraid to let her in the house.
And in the casino, actual dealers and pit bosses, they're so believable, particularly that wonderful guy that Joe Pesci calls the Beaut.
Look at this fucking Beaut they put in now.
I mean, he was just perfect. You didn't have to tell him to do anything, because Marty said actually, I think he had actually encountered the real Nicky once in a similar situation, so he knew how to handle it. But it gives a wonderful flavor.
I think all the characters, to some extent, are not necessarily sympathetic, but you understand them, and you understand why they're doing what they're doing. You don't always agree with what they're doing, and you might say, I wouldn't make that choice, but you're kind of with them. And I think that's what's important.
The film's always criticized for, how could you care about people? How can you make a 3-hour film about people you don't care about? That's one thing. That's true. I don't know. I cared about them. I also saw them at a certain point in the story that they're all lost. And then all it is then just a matter of watching the pageantry of their demise. And also the pageantry and the grandeur of the destruction of Vegas.
Mrs. Rothstein, straight ahead. Very nice. Thank you.
Movies like Casino are much more about the visuals. It's because it's a time and a place where I think it was appropriate, and he just went with it and had fun with it.
With the other gaming agents? Yes, you were FBI yesterday, so you have to be FBI today.
They took my thing out.
All right, what are you going to put it back in?
Shit happens, you know?
So now you two guys.
And I don't feel bad, it wasn't personal.
It's a very complex film to make. It took about 100 days to shoot, and there were long days, very long days. And it was a very difficult shoot because of the different locations and many different bits and pieces of scenes rather than long scenes. Long scenes were easier to shoot. Once the actors had it, we were okay.
Marty wanted to show the exhilaration and attraction of Las Vegas, so when he brings you into it so beautifully, even including that wonderful shot that Saul Bass did for us, actually, that Marty designed of coming out of the clouds and you see Las Vegas, a grid at night, and then you fly beyond it into the dark, and then you're introduced to the desert where all the bodies are buried. All of those things that he thought out were to give you a feeling of what it was like to enter into this glamorous, glitzy, crazy world.
I said, Marty, why I have to do this movie? I don't know nothing about Las Vegas. He said, do you think the other people knows better than you? I said, this I don't know. Anyway, I saw the first time Ocean 11 with Marty. He suggested me to see this movie. And then I went to the library in Las Vegas. It was a little library. And then I started to pick up some stuff, very interesting stuff, because, you know, Las Vegas, it's no style. And this can fill you with a lot of freedom, because you can do everything you want.
Dante is, you know, just brilliant at not just building sets, which he does really well, but also finding locations and dressing them and making them bigger than life. And this movie was about things that were bigger and better and brighter and more sparkly than real life. And I think he understands that really, really well.
We put on top of the canopy a kind of a turban made all in CGI, because it was a huge. Also, we put something like 2,000 bulbs in the canopy, the marquee for the entrance for the hotel.
Okay, can I have everyone's attention, please? Crew members, we got that shot. Next shot, camera is panning ace, looking in this direction. All that is in. All that is in.
It's always easier to work on a soundstage. So we did investigate building a casino. We could never really build one big enough that was affordable. We also investigated maybe finding a closed casino and getting it up and running again, but we really couldn't find one that was, again, affordable and big enough. So we decided we really needed to go into a real casino to get the depth and that sort of overwhelming feeling when you walk in with the lights and the noise and the flashing and the colors and no daylight coming in anywhere. And we looked at a lot of different casinos, but there weren't many that were actually correct for the period. So it narrowed down to one or two casinos, and then we had to find one that who would have us. Because, you know, they're not in the business of making movies, and movies take people's attention away from gambling. So it wasn't like other places where people are happy for the exposure. You know, so we did finally get the Riviera to accept us. And it was very difficult working the casino, because in Vegas they're open 24 hours a day.
They said you can shoot it from midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning. And the problem was with Marty, the noise.
Part of the problem was shooting the first 6 weeks in the Riviera Hotel, which was all right, and we got that extraordinary atmosphere, and we got the flavor of it. But we were not important. I mean, it was important there to everybody was the gambling. The first day of shooting, I see that they have an electric sign outside that says, come and see the shooting of Casino with Robert De Niro, Sharon Stone, Don Rickles. And people just show up, and I think we start shooting around 11 o'clock at night, and it was murder. I mean, people all over the place. But around 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, it started to get quiet. It was great. And then around 6 in the morning, you'd see the older people coming in, and we have pictures of at the end. And then there were 2 clowns outside every morning. There were ladies, and then after about the first week, we became friends. And they told me how they went to clown school, and they gave me an application for clown school. I thought it was really interesting, you know. And they were sweet. And every morning that I got to say, hey, how you doing? The clowns are outside. We were out of our minds by that point. You know, it was like living in that casino.
It was just tough to do, but it was the only way to really get that feeling. I mean, we did build a section to do some of the smaller games and some of the scenes because of the noise.
But in Las Vegas, we didn't have the stage. We found a big warehouse where it was, inside it was before a dinosaurs museum. So we built the De Niro office, and also underneath we built the sport book. This we built only in 1 month because we have had a problem with the schedule. And this house also, for this we have had a lot of problems because of the geography for this house was very important, because we have this scene when the FBI agent they landing on the golf course. And I looked at so many houses And after months, I found something very good. But inside was very small, so we rented this house, and they paid the owner an hotel for 3 months. Also, we asked to modify all inside the house, so we take down a lot of walls, and then we did a living room, a big living room, and the bedroom. It was very important. So in the same area where we built the bedroom, it was 3 rooms inside.
What the hell do you want to do next? Folks, which angle do you want to go to next?
Punch in, pan.
Yeah, okay.
The Riviera Hotel. We find a big space, and then we redress as a club. And we to put all the zebra carpet, all the zebra tissue on the sofa, and we recreate everything from scratch in a real location.
Well, we got company.
A lot of people love to go to Vegas because they really love the aesthetic of the bad taste. I find it remarkable. I think it's interesting visually, but I don't enjoy it. And if there's any humor meant there, it's the humor of excess also. How much further can they go even with the style of what they're wearing, and the style of the house, and the cars, and everything?
Can you get this in ermine, do you think? It's been nice, wouldn't it? An ermine for winter? For summer, this is nice, but for winter, I might want ermine.
The costumes that Rita and John did, almost everything was built. It was made to order, and Bob De Niro in particular had a lot to say about his wardrobe.
You brought down so much fucking heat on me.
I remember seeing Bob choosing those glasses with Marty. I was there in the room when they were doing it. It was wonderful to watch how the decision finally veered towards the Lou Wasserman sunglasses, the famous Hollywood character.
One of our most important meetings was on the roof of the hotel where Marty was staying, and we were up there with bolts and bolts of fabric and a mirror and the dying light, at magic hour, draping Bob with bolts of fabric to see what turned him into Ace Rothstein, and it was a very illuminating process.
De Niro's character Rothstein is based on Frank Lefty Rosenthal, whose actual wardrobe was even more extreme than what we showed, much more. Always within suits and ties, always within, but still it was very extreme.
We went to visit Frank Rosenthal, who was generous enough to show us all of his personal stuff. And we took a little tour of his closet and really became very well acquainted with his style. And he lent me a few of his own things that he had saved from the period. And when we tried them on Bob, the clothing, although it looked very flashy, on Bob it looked almost Wall Street. It looked very straight and more dangerous. Some actors might have looked kind of clowny or cartoony in those very, very bold colors, but on Bob, I think they're very threatening. So we built all of his costumes. I think we built more than 70 suits.
He had socks dyed to match socks, and wristwatches, and it was very much a part of his character, and he had a lot to do with that.
It was usually the morning ritual of the watch and the ring. Every morning we'd meet in Bob's trailer to look at the outfit for the scene, and we had a box of rings and watches and decide which was the most appropriate set for the day. And should it coordinate with the outfit? And what is it we want to say? How much are we going to see the hand and the wrist? And we'd make the choice. Now, these are all things that whether or not the audience is actually aware of them, they're very important cues to the character and, again, to the progression of the story. And then, of course, as you follow the story, he starts out in more conservative colors. And as things become more chaotic, the colors become more chaotic. Things just kept heightening and heightening. And we did make a very conscious decision, when we were going through all the suits. And Marty says, well, let's put the apricot suit in the opening credits. Let's put them right at the beginning of the movie. So it's so in your face. The audience will know what they're in for, and they can leave the theater or stay.
One of my favorites is the scene in his office where he has his pants in the closet because you don't want to ruin the crease. And why not? I understand it. He has to give a certain image to people. When they come, if there's a meeting, then you can go up and put the pants on, sit properly without ruining the crease here right now, my pants, and have a meeting.
This is a true thing that he did indeed keep his pants in the closet to keep them from getting wrinkled. He was an extremely fastidious guy. He claimed never to have worn anything really more than once, and I must add that he was present at all of the fittings. We did need his stamp of approval. He was quite enthusiastic. And I think that we designed more than 50 costumes for Ginger as well. So when she's young and fresh and confident and a really good, successful casino hustler, they're colorful and fresh and very Vegas.
I thought that she never really grew out of playing with her Barbies, and that if she got married, she wanted to be Barbie, and that she wanted Barbie's wedding dress, like the suit that Barbie would get married in. And so Rita made me Barbie's wedding dress, and it was charming for the wedding, but I thought it was so particularly successful for the scene on the phone with Lester, because she looked like a broken doll.
Talk to you later. Bye.
And she's trying to kind of get okay, and she's trying to let go, and I can do this, I can get it together, and there's still that innocence, because she sort of doesn't get it, the world that she's moving into. She still has her dream of what she thinks she's getting into.
Sam, I've been independent my whole life. I never had to ask anybody for anything. Now you're making me beg you for this.
What are you talking about?
And you're embarrassing me.
Y tus trailers.
Why do you want to make me
Visita
feel
mi
so
canal.
bad?
And then, of course, she goes, she's declaring her independence. She goes off with Lester, and she comes back with a boob job, and she's cut her hair, and her clothing is much harder and stronger from that point.
You motherfucker! You go out here and talk to me, you fucker!
We loved pearlized leather for her for some reason. It just had that special flash. And I had these gold skins and this suede reptile, other stuff. And we said, we got to put these together. Let's do a motorcycle jacket and pants, and let's show that she's deteriorated. Let's give them a nice baggy ass, But she's still wearing this armor. It's almost protective armor, and that's another thing about leather.
Who knows what you're gonna do in there?
What do you mean, what am I gonna do? I've been in the same clothes for 2 days. I wanna get a few of my things. Big deal.
How you doing, Les? It's Lester, right? Sam.
And then, of course, you have a scene with the three of them in their versions of white. Bob is in his very perfectly tailored Western cut jacket, and Sharon is in a white leather coat and white leather pants. And that coat, I called it the caterpillar coat. It was trimmed with fur chevrons. It was really kind of gruesome, and that was a real vintage piece. And then, of course, you have Lester is in a kind of pirated version of a Gucci denim suit. And the fact that it's a Gucci knockoff is, at least for me, it's so slimy. And that's a costume he just worked so fantastically. He knows he's going to get absolutely creamed the second he leaves that diner. It's that cocky but hopeless, oh Jesus, walk. And everybody notices the way he works those pants. It's so exciting when an actor works his costume, and the three of them were so successful at it.
Exposure number 2 would be cutting to the wide from the windshield. Right? The windshield goes on fire. Cut to this.
This is what you told us to do yesterday.
Yeah. And you listen to me?
We listened to you very carefully. I think very.
Marty plans out most of his shots and storyboards so that by the time he's actually shooting it, and also while we're scouting locations, he and the DP will actually block out a lot of the shots, especially the moving shots, which, when it's moving, the lighting has to be really precise. And this is the first time Marty had worked with Bob, and Bob has a definite style and a definite look. I mean, he uses a lot of light. And if you watch the movie, you'll see these hot spots and people's hair and sparkle. And I think Bob's lighting style, really lent itself to the casino look, both interior and exterior. And also the widescreen, which Bob really likes and Marty loves, really worked, especially in Vegas, which is so big. But also it was really hard for him because he had to light that casino, and a lot of the lights he couldn't leave overnight because we had to go in and out all the time. So he had to figure out a way to light it so that he could get it in and out really quickly.
Working with Bob Richardson, it's such a gift to the costume designer. He would take costumes that I know other DPs would look at and go, oh my God, I can't. He'd say, oh, wait, did you see what I'm going to do with that? Like Sharon's gold dress at the big event, it's all gold sequins. And he just punched it and made it sparkle and dazzle as much as he could. It was absolutely fantastic. And Marty is so specific and so visual. And I just don't, there aren't many storytellers like him who can string all of these scenes together and make a wonderful arc and flow. And what can I say? I love working with Marty. Every collaboration has been really terrific, but Casino was outstanding.
When Marty is writing the script with me, we are together. It's like you're a married couple. You're in the hotel, you're working nights and days, you're, ha, 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 and you're having a good time. And then he starts to shoot the movie, and then he's got the actors, and he's got the photographer. And they become the new family. Then it goes to the editing, and now it's the film editor. And in Marty's case, it is always Thelma Schoonmaker. But that's what happens. He's the only one who takes the whole journey.
Casino particularly is a film that Marty had thought out very carefully, all of those montages, all of his camera moves he had designed so they would cut together. They were very specific, very extreme, very hard to do, but a lot of that, particularly the opening montages, were thought out so that basically for me it was a matter of cutting them together and then just finessing a little bit the cut, but the structure of them was already thought out by him. One example I use sometimes because it's the easiest to understand is when he has the montage where he shows how everybody's watching everybody. And if you look at the way Marty shot Bob coming out of that door, he intended for it to be used again at the end, and he had shot it 3 different ways. So he always intended for it to be used that way, so it was just a matter of me, again, carrying out what he had designed. We did think a lot about how to do the cuts, particularly inside the car when he sees suddenly smoke coming out of the dashboard and he knows what's up. And so we did experiment a lot with cutting that. But he had already thought it all out, Marty. He knew he was going to use this device as bookends.
And there's always an issue with length. Part of it has to do with the economics, because if you get past a certain length, the exhibitor loses a show. And instead of having like 3 shows a night or 4 shows a night, they'll have 2 shows a night. And that's a major, major problem for a lot of exhibitors.
Studio, Tom Pollock told me, Marty, please don't make it 3 hours. I said, but believe me, it's going to be, it's going to be fast, And the main thing is I try to make it entertaining. I try to make it as entertaining as possible and make a fast 3-hour picture. Some people have told me they thought it was pretty quick. Others, no. The music was wall-to-wall, there's no doubt, and I had a big chart on the wall as to which piece of music I was going to use. Some music I've used before in pictures. Robbie Robertson helped me at times. He suggested even the music from Le Mépris. He gave it to me. I said, why not?
For the money.
He needed some clothes.
And then originally the film was going to open with the music I use at the end, the Animals version of House of the Rising Sun, and that's where the body was going to go be flying in the air, because that was designed. That's in the script. The script is very close to what the picture became. And then Saul and Elaine Bass put that title sequence together, and I thought it would be more interesting to blast it and have the sense of the music that is sacred music, the Bach music, the St. Matthew Passion, which is over the top, and sacred music, which is the soundtrack for a story about people who are profane.
The great Saul Bass and his wife Elaine, when they were asked to do the titles, of course, they just made this beautiful title sequence.
Marty would show usually just like the first reel, and he and Elaine would come back with some ideas, like 2 ideas, 3 ideas, choices. And they were always just amazing. And if you look at the other movies he had done before, I mean, it's just such a visual, his graphics are amazing.
And they just brought us a title sequence of our main character falling slowly into hell. And it was such a great idea and beautifully realized. It was just perfect. They came to Las Vegas, shot all the Las Vegas lights, and went away and just came back with a little masterpiece.
So when I was in New York, they had a rough cut of the movie, and Marty said, I want you to see the cut. Sure. He said, you're going to be watching it with Ace. I said, oh, no. So Ace and I went, just the 2 of us in this theater, watching before I saw it for the first time. And it was just unbelievable. And you know, if you're writing, you're on a computer, you don't have the orchestra, you don't have the color, you don't have all of that stuff. And so you see it for the first time. The movie explodes for you. And it also exploded for Ace. I mean, he just got up and, I mean, you would never do anything like hug Ace, but you came as close to doing that as you can, because I think he was really pleased and he felt happy that he'd helped.
When the film first came out, my memory is that it was not that well received.
When it came out, I think we had it at Show East. We went there, and the people at Show East were very nice, but the people at Hollywood Reporter actually had a headline, Universal's Casino, a lemon. And I showed the rough cut, you know, and the people at Show East were mortified. And they wrote me letters, this thing never happen again. I said, how do you let somebody come in and describe that way? The picture wasn't even finished, you know. But that doesn't matter. It's basically the picture, you know. It was only a few weeks away from mixing and that sort of thing. But no, it's been rediscovered. And a lot of people, younger people are rediscovering, and they say, well, it's really, I said, well, then you should see Goodfellas. Actually, it's the other way around. Goodfellas first, then Casino, you know.
I remember when the phone rang and I was told, you're nominated for Golden Globe. When I won the Golden Globe, I was completely dumbstruck. I didn't even hear them call my name. It was inconceivable to me that, you know. And then the morning that I got the call that I was nominated for an Oscar, I ran around my house like a wet puppy. I just kept running around in circles. Like, it's actually freaky and scary to be nominated for these big awards. It's kind of, you're really excited for like 2 days, and then you're basically sick until it happens.
What do you think we're doing out here in the middle of the desert? It's all this money.
And ultimately, there's never enough. And the Vegas of the 70s in this film, that's what the main impulse was about. Never enough for anybody.
$100 whoever hits the plan.
And that's also the idea of Casino as a kind of metaphor for Hollywood, too. Making bigger pictures, flashier, more, hundreds of millions of dollars, and until finally it's just going to explode and the bottom's going to fall right out of it. And we have to continue the nature of cinema in a different way, ultimately in America, I think, unless it will split forever between the gigantic budgeted pictures, which are at times very well done. All the new techniques are quite extraordinary. Some are done better than others, of course, but can't take much chance at the box office because you need a lot of money. There are other films that obviously in America are being made by younger people, and some excellent ones, and lower budgets, but they'll always have that lower budget. It might be interesting to see if those people would ever be given the chance to be given more money the way a number of people were given, including myself at some points in the 70s. But that, I think, is long gone and probably will never come back. So this was sort of a moralistic tale for me to tell.